Of everybody for the Pull Hook Golf Podcast, and this is the live session where we are going to debate and talk about the greatest golfer of all time. It's the GOAT debate. Good old GOAT time. We got Brent Grant here with us, our tour insider, and Brent has been on his comeback path, and we'll be chatting a little bit in regards to everything going on in the pull hook golf world. Botsy should be joining us here in just a little bit. He is running in hot. He was doing a promo for PXG, so we'll give them a little shout out on the live here. But that being said, this is going to be a great one, Brent, that we're going to be able to dive right into. We've got some different perspectives in regards to Scottie Scheffler and really what is to come with Scottie and, you know, his comparisons to Tiger. A lot of people have been throwing out those comparisons, so we certainly will be talking about all of that here tonight. Whew. How's it feel to be back on, buddy?
It's great. It's great. Had a really weird couple of weeks. A lot of driving, a lot of interesting conversations with people, but also a lot of interesting perspectives, especially with regards to kind of now that we're on the back end of all of these decisions that have been made with regards to the PGA Tour. I had a long conversation yesterday, and it basically was, oh yeah, everything that we said was going to happen has happened. And so I'm interested to see when that starts to pop up in the zeitgeist. So
well, it's been kind of funny too, because a lot of people, like, I've just stopped on Twitter for the most part, where I just don't even deal with the knuckleheads on there from a, you know, I'll just leave it at that, because number one, like, I was providing information that I was receiving, and to literally be, to sit there and for people to call you a liar or that you made something up and something so kind of out there that it's like, wow, if I had that kind of creativity, this show would be even that much better. But that being said, it's just like, yeah, I have no idea, like, how to make this stuff up or anything along those lines. So I threw out there a lot of stuff, and I got beat up pretty bad over, especially like the Bryson stuff. And certainly, like, a lot of it's come to light now to where, like, it was all factual. Like, there's not a single thing that I have said on there to where it has bit me in the ass and come back. And so a lot of people have some feet to put into their mouths because of that. And a lot of, I love it because there's a couple accounts on Twitter that keep like saying, hey, Pull Hook Golf said this 3 months ago. They said this 6 months ago. They said it a year ago. So it's pretty cool to see that come all the way back around. Good old Trot Golfer, our unofficial researcher of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Good evening, men. Good evening to you, good sir. Trot's been phenomenal, man. I tell you what, we've been working hard on the game, and I'll get into that as we go live into this episode with the actual recording of the episode. So if you are new to this live stream or this channel, basically for the first couple minutes, we tend to chit chat a little bit, let the audience kind of get online, get chimed in, and then from there, I'll count us in and we will start the actual live podcast, which we're just about there. We're almost at time to go ahead and dive right into it. And man, we've got one topic tonight. And I love that when we've got one topic to talk about. One, it makes my life easier, but two, it's just like if you are interested in this topic, which is who's the greatest golfer ever right now. And that's the thing that we're going to really hone in about. And you might be really surprised with some of our takes around that in particular, because I was surprised with how I'm feeling about it all. I kind of thought about it. My dad brought it up at dinner on Sunday night, and you know, he's not a golf guy, but he listens to the podcast. He knows golf now, and sports guy through and through, has coached literally every sport imaginable. And we got chatting about Scottie Scheffler, and he's like, he's pretty damn dominant, huh? And that's one of the big topics that we will get into on this particular episode. But let's go ahead and get started here. Like I said, I think Butsy will try to join in here shortly, so he may come in halfway through the conversation, which is totally okay. So let me take a sip of iced tea. This is one of the approved liquids as part of my whole nutrition plan and through Stark Health.
Awesome.
Always been a big black tea, unsweetened tea guy.
Interesting.
Yeah, I got it from my dad. My dad was big iced tea guy as well. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody, to Pull Hook Golf, the podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cook. Tonight, we've got our tour insider back with us, Mr. Brent Grant. And Botsy is running a little bit late, so hopefully he's going to be chiming in midway through this conversation that we're about to have, which is around the greatest golfer ever. And so we will dive into all of the latest topics around Scottie Scheffler, the Tiger Woods debate, and so much more, because is it one of them that's the greatest, or are there others? We'll get into all of that on this episode. But before we do, I want to let you know about some of our sponsors. First of all, Devereaux Golf. You can see Brent's got the t-shirt on with the skull. Lightning bolts coming through. These guys just went on a tour out in Southern California. They took their coffee truck with them and it looked like it was a great time. I was following them along on social media as I was in LA this weekend with Stark Health. But folks, Devereaux Golf's what I'm wearing as well. I got the hat on. I've got the shirt on. It's all around me up here with the head covers. But utilize the promo code PullHookGolf20. That's PullHookGolf20, all together for 20% off your entire order over at DevereauxGolf.com. They've come out with some awesome gear, especially recently. They've got the racing gear, the Devereaux Golf, cars, coffee, and so on and so forth. So go over there, utilize that promo code. We've also got Vice Golf, which you can see the golf balls on each side of me with the hats. I used personally the Pro Plus. I actually really enjoyed this golf ball quite a bit. Does everything that I needed to do. So Vice Golf, go over there. And by the way, great pricing on Vice Golf. Pull Hook is the promo code there for 15% off. Now, Rockform, I've got my little speaker once again. Last week, I finally got it back. I left it at the golf course. Brent's got the Rockform case on there, the America. Hell yeah. Love that. And folks, you can get 20% off over at Rockform. And by the way, Trot Golfer, who is our unofficial researcher, big Rockform fan as well. He's got multiple speakers, multiple cases. I know now that I don't need to bring my speaker to the golf course because he's got his. And we've got the exact same one. So great stuff there. And once again, Pull Hook 2025 is the promo code for Rockform for 20% off. And I also, by the way, I'm using it right now for the camera, is that golf magnet. It is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
There's just so many options with it. Like, it is well worth the price point. Folks, you will not be disappointed with that one. I use it literally for everything. It's got a magnet. It also twists in, pops onto the shaft that they have that you can pop into the ground when you're on the golf course. But otherwise, you can put it on a normal camera stand. You can pop that right off for quick access and put it on anything magnetic. So I've actually used it a lot with all of this 5 a.m. comeback journey, which I'm on day number 34 right now. I would love to say that I am down a ton of weight, but I'm packing on some muscle as we go through this. So I'm only down about 9 pounds. But for the first 34 days, not bad. The stomach is starting to shrink, which is always nice. You know, I don't have to look at that big round thing down there. That sounded weird. But part of this 5 a.m. comeback was certainly finding the time in order to train and get back to an elite level of golf. And Trot Golfer, been going out to him every week on Tuesdays for a golf lesson. We do half on the range, then we go out and play a few holes. And man, it is starting to come together. We're still got a lot of work to do. So like I was saying it today, I'm like, it's early on. It's early on. But with Stark Health, I mean, shoot, I'll tell you guys right off the bat that with Stark, my health was not good. Like, you would look at me and you'd be like, oh, that dude's fine. Like, I don't think Brent, did you ever look at me and go, that dude's way overweight? He's got some real problems going on.
No, I think just like everybody else is a diet thing, just inflammation in general, things that you just don't know about. So I never thought you were. No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was one of the weird things is like getting all the data back from all of the blood tests that we did. Like, we got down to the nitty gritty. We got down to the micronutrients, like the whole 9 yards, as well as from testosterone to cholesterol, blood pressure, like everything across the board that you could possibly think of. Alzheimer genes, celiac genes for celiac disease, like all of that stuff. We got right down to the bottom of all of it, and it's been an absolute game changer for me. I couldn't do this without Stark Health. So if you're trying to get back to an elite level yourself, whatever it comes, like whatever it is, if you want to feel great, be great, that is one of the areas that I would say go seek out Stark Health. You could always hit me up on the Pull Hook Golf Instagram page as well, and I will share details around all of that. As if you're following the stories in the mornings and so forth throughout the day, I'm trying to track as much as possible as to the day-to-day of what goes on around myself, Pull Hook Golf Podcast, and this whole 5 a.m. comeback. I did just get a golf bag in from Jones Golf, so if you looked at the story, you've probably seen that bad boy. I love the two-tone. It is sick. We were going through it today, and Trot was looking at it going, man, that bag's actually really dope. So really love that from Jones. They were part of the 5 a.m. comeback with me, so thank you guys. And like I said, Stark Health, couldn't do it without them, and Trot Golfer for providing me some golf lessons. So Trot did mention that your mic's a little low, Brent, so just be aware of that as we get into it. So I think when I had you mess with the gain a little bit, maybe you want to put it down to 8. Or put it up to 8, I guess you could say. All right, here we go. You ready to get into it? We've gone on long enough with sponsors, the 5 a.m. comeback. Let's get into it. Scotty Scheffler wins the Open Championship, 2 majors in a year. And the question is he the greatest golfer of all time? Now, I'm going to preface this with the fact that it's too early to say that he is the absolute GOAT at this point, but just taking these couple years to where he's been phenomenal, absolutely great. Do you think he is the greatest of all time if he keeps this up? We might have lost Brent. Brent looks frozen for the moment. Not sure if we're going to get Brent back. His internet was doing just fine there for a bit. But we'll wait for Brent on that one. And I will start with a comment, actually, from Austin. He has quite a trajectory going. And here's the thing. And I kind of wanted to tee it up with Brent. I'm kind of hesitant to give my take on it because my take's a little bit different than I feel like I've been hearing from all of the golf pundits that are out there, all of the media outlets that are out there. And here's the thing. I think right now, he is the greatest golfer of all time, or playing as the greatest golfer of all time. And that's weird to say, because I am a huge Tiger guy. I think Tiger Woods is absolutely the GOAT. And now I kind of get it from the basketball perspective because I've always been a Michael Jordan guy. Like, never LeBron James has he ever, in my mind, been the greatest of all time. But now it's kind of like, this is interesting with golf, because here we have Scotty Scheffler. And I'm going to tell you why, in my opinion, he is the greatest of all time right now. Like right now, Scotty Scheffler is playing the absolute best golf we have seen, in my opinion. It is not the flair. It is not the clutchness of Tiger Woods. Like, Tiger was everything you would want Tiger to be. And Brent's joining us back here. Hey, there he is. You're back. Whew.
Sorry,
That got scary for a bit.
Happened.
That's okay.
Like,
I started sharing, so I was really hesitant to share my opinion. I'm kind of into it a little bit, but I do want to get your take. So let's segue to you real quick. Scotty Scheffler, is he the greatest of all time? Right now.
I think if he were to keep this up, statistically speaking, I don't think there's anybody that has dominated as much as he has, statistically speaking. The real question, obviously, is it's a comparison against Tiger.
Yeah.
Ultimately, right? So, and I brought this up to a couple of people, players. Like you said earlier on, we have conversations with our dads about this stuff. And I asked the question, and he, my dad's been watching golf for 40 years, so obviously he would know a lot more about the competition level back then than I would. But the question is the competition now stiffer than the competition in Tiger's day? We'll call it 98 to 2015. And I don't think that the competition level, as far as ability of players, is as good as it is now. However, there's some other things going on that we can get into later with regards to the elevated events and what that's doing to the players' work ethics and such like that. But if he keeps this up for another decade, without a doubt.
So it's funny too that you mentioned the strength of players that are out there right now, because I was talking about this a little bit last week with Butsy. He feels as though it's not going to be technology as to the reason why, like, we get somebody who is just like the next coming of the best player ever. And we kind of brought up Scotty Scheffler at the time, where it's like, hey, look at Scotty, number one player in the world, the best player right now, possibly the best player at the moment, like, ever. And sure enough, like, you look at him and his swing is not orthodox whatsoever. There's an artistry to it, right? And that's part of this whole entire thing. But I also do believe that technology has made players better. And I do believe that the strength across an entire field is better than it's
100%.
Ever been.
It has to be, right?
It does. I mean, it's evolution in a way. Like, some can use that argument in other ways, but I would say that technology, for one, and I'm a big technology guy, so it's not surprising for me to say this, but I think technology has leveled the playing field in a lot of ways, where you need somebody like a Scotty Scheffler that swings it different, that is different. A Jon Rahm is not, like, perfectly sound.
Yeah.
Like, there's another one, but
yeah, I mean, we start talking about this stuff, and it's so funny that all of the things that have happened, right, with Live, and then the PGA Tour doing what it's done with the schedule, and has essentially isolated the top 30 guys and have kept them there, right? The guys that have broken in have literally broken in. Like, there's no, like, there's a bunch of gatekeeping going on. And what's interesting is what if, I know it's a hypothetical, but if John would have stuck around. So I played that season, and I can tell you that I was disappointed when Scotty got the Player of the Year. I was like, John won the Masters, and he won 4 other tournaments. It's John. I don't give a shit about scoring average or anything like that, but John played better the whole year. And so, but then obviously he leaves to Live, and that muddies the whole situation. But if he sticks around, or if Bryson sticks around, does Scotty have the same level of dominance as he does now? Because I don't think so. To be honest.
See, I do.
Head on.
But here's the thing, like, I get the argument that, oh, you're not playing against the Live guys.
Only
But those
2 of them.
guys really weren't winning tournaments against Scotty Scheffler anyways. Like, Scotty is beating guys, and I think it would have only pushed Scotty a little bit further as well to compete at even a higher level. And that's where I'm just like, I get it, but at the same time, like, you look at these PGA Tour fields, they might not be the household names that you're accustomed to, but these guys are damn good players and better than years past some of the bigger names. And that's why, like, in a lot of ways, the guys who went to live are often obscurity. Like, they're not competing at the highest level anymore, and some of them were kind of on the way down, right? But all these guys that are coming up, and I kind of looked at that open leaderboard, and for a little while there looked super strong, right?
Yeah.
But Sunday, when you start looking at the names that are, you go down the list, Harris English is up there. Like, that's not a big name that you're like, wow, that's one of the top players in the world. But that's going to happen at an Open Championship. But it also goes to show you how good these guys are. Hong Tong Lee, right? Like, these guys are the best players in the world. And there is levels to this. But again, I don't want to get too far off track with the strength of field, because we can go a little bit down a rabbit hole. Like, you start looking at the stats and the numbers, and I feel like across the board, players are better than they ever have been, period.
Oh no, you're absolutely correct, and I totally agree. I think when I isolate a guy like John specifically because of the tournaments that he won, because of the run that he was on, the U.S. Open, then the Masters, and then obviously multiple wins outside of the majors as well. That's really the only guy I look, because Bryson wasn't doing that. Bryson, yes, he won the U.S. Open, and I'm not going to take anything away from that, but he was not dominating across the schedule the way Scotty and John were. And even you look at Rory McIlroy, right? I look at Rory now as essentially kind of a wait to see Phil Mickelson. I mean, after he won the Masters, he's a shell of who he was. But the real key for me that even lets Scotty into my mind as somebody that could possibly take Tiger's mantle is how these guys are talking about him. Now, granted, again, these guys are not, they're all a bunch of very young men, right? They're 25 to 32. They've pretty much been silver spoon their entire lives and had everything, pretty much paved out for them. Certainly not like the journeymen that Tiger had to go up against, the absolute grinders. But the simple fact of the matter is that everything is working towards these top players being able to stay on top. And I think it honestly has softened them. But Scotty, because he doesn't place who he is in the game, he just goes out there and has one goal and one goal only, and that's to win. Everybody else is just sort of like, well, all I got to do is make the cut here and make the cut there and top 5 it here, and because I play in all the elevated events, I'm good, guys. And so you see that from like a Jordan and a Justin and a not Xander. Xander's obviously incredible, but like a Colin Morikawa, guys that were in the conversation 2 years ago as these world beaters, and they're non-existent now. So
yeah, so I'm with you. I will say that Scotty Scheffler, and I got into this conversation as well around, are guys actually afraid of Scotty Scheffler like they were Tiger Woods back in the day when Tiger was dominating? And I think they are now. Like, I think that what he said at the Open Championship before the Open about how golf is not the most important thing in his life. And what's most, like, that perspective of, oh shit, he's playing at this level. Now, he did try to kind of backtrack a little bit afterwards, but I think it was very powerful to be like, this is not the most important thing in my life.
It's not me. Yeah.
Yep.
It's not about me.
And I think that was the first time that players started going, oh shit. Like, Scotty Scheffler has not just arrived, but he's got the perspective and mindset that is going to, like, if it's not the most important thing in the world, like it was to Tiger Woods, because I think it's pretty safe to say golf was the most important thing in Tiger's world. And yet Scotty Scheffler is performing like this. And then you started hearing Bryson DeChambeau start chirping about how, and I know he was like, it was one of those backhanded compliments, I feel like, to where he was talking about, well, Scotty wasn't that good in college, so he's gotten a lot better since then. Like, it was one of those, like, yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, obviously he's gotten a lot better, like a lot of people do.
By the way, it's not
Yeah.
like Bryson was. Bryson
So
won the USM. Good job. That's relax, dude.
So for Scotty to all of a sudden have Bryson start talking about him, Spieth talking about how, he is the best BSer on the golf course back home in Dallas. Like, he chirps these guys, and he's very, very witty. So there's a Scotty Scheffler that's there that the world still has not fully seen yet. I feel like he's starting to open up more and more and more. And he's starting to talk more to the media and be a little bit more honest and open. But man, that candidness around his faith and just golf and not being the most important thing. And I thought about that a lot this week. And I watched, like, when guys started getting a little bit close to him on the leaderboard, started to fall a little bit. And so even when Scotty stumbled, it's like, But that goes back to why, in my opinion, Scotty Scheffler compared to Tiger Woods, Scotty Scheffler is actually the more scary golfer. And I think he's better than Tiger ever was right now. Like, you can look back at 2000, and it's so difficult for me to say this, by the way, because you look at 2000, that's the best golf swing, the most fundamental golf swing. That is the best, like, so many things, and yet Scotty's the exact opposite. So it's so difficult to sit here and say that. I'm just like, man, coming out of my mouth too. I'm just like, this is so tough.
Doesn't quite make sense. But to your point, right? But if you just look at it, this is why having a conversation 25 years removed, right, is so difficult, because the type of golf course that Tiger was dominating on, that doesn't really exist anymore. The 4-inch rough consistently, the really long, difficult, maybe not the most manicured golf courses on the planet. But the bottom line is like, he won everywhere in every which way, whether that was 14 fairways and 18 greens, or it was 5 fairways and 6 greens. It didn't matter. The guy did whatever he needed to do to win. But what I find to be probably the most important stat, I think Scotty's got another 28 wins to do it, would be if he matches or beats Tiger's record of 37 consecutive Sundays, 54-hole lead wins that he wins on Sunday after leading after Saturday. That is when I would be like, yep, done. Like, whatever he does is over. And so I think what's amazing is that it may be ugly, but he's doing something Tiger never did, which was lead in almost every single category there is. Tiger didn't lead in the driving category. He certainly did not lead necessarily in the ball striking category, although when he did win, he was obviously hitting it great. But Tiger picked his golf courses. And I just go back to the fact that I just don't think the competition was anywhere near the level of the guys today.
You say that, and I agree with you. It is a tough thing to agree with, though, that there's that big of a difference between fields. But to me, I'll go back to this, is that Scotty Scheffler, and I pride players. It's one of the reasons why I think Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time and not even close to LeBron James. Like, I think there's a level between those two guys because of the competitiveness and the clutchness of Michael Jordan versus LeBron. I don't think LeBron's ever been that clutch. And I think that's an easier argument for people who have seen both in basketball, to where Scotty Scheffler is not clutch, in my opinion. And here's the thing, like people have disagreed with me, and you'll hear the players talk about, oh, Scotty's like his mindset is so strong. He's so like he's tough to beat when he's in that locked in like that. And that's great and dandy. But folks, there were 2 FedEx Cups to where he blew a massive lead and lost. He 4-putted at the Masters to win, which, by the way, he admitted crying before that final round at the Masters because he didn't think he was ready to win the Masters. He's not been able to this year. He had or was it this year or last year? He had the record-breaking like tournament, and he couldn't get it done. He ends up bogeying one of, I think, 17, and all he had to do was par in, right? So
it was Dallas, Byron Nelson.
Yeah, it was the Byron Nelson, and he could have had the all-time lowest tournament scoring record. And then you look at his Ryder Cup appearances, and those haven't been great. So, like, to me, and the Ryder Cup, by the way, is one of those to where it's a pressure cooker. If you aren't clutch, you're not going to play great in the Ryder Cup, right?
Correct.
But it just goes to show you that even without that clutchness, to be able to do what he's doing is why my perception of him and my opinion of him is changing. Like, I'm in the position right now to where if he keeps this up, and granted, I'm not saying he's got to win 2 majors every single year, but if he keeps this up and wins a major every year, like, all of a sudden, Scotty Scheffler is absolutely the best player in the world. And by the way, folks, he won 2 tournaments this year, 2 majors, to where he won the PGA by 5 strokes. He wins the Open Championship by 4. So that's the first time that's ever happened in a calendar year. And then on top of that, you look at a fun fact that I love that everybody's been talking about. It's the exact number of days between their first major victory to their 4th, which is 1,197 days between them, and that's Tiger and Scotty. The big difference there, though, Tiger was 24 years old. Scotty Scheffler's 29. So it's a 4.5 year difference there when you look at the actual months and days. So that's the only big difference there. And how long is Scotty Scheffler going to want to do this? Not like he's competitive as shit, but
I honestly, it's so funny you asked that. The last thing I said last night to my dad I was like, as soon as his son starts going to school, he's done. And it's not because he'll drop off. It's just he'll just look at it and go, I'm go do something else.
I think Scotty Scheffler, I agree with you, by the way. I don't think that this career is going to be, I don't think he lusts over records.
No.
I don't think he does. I don't think he gives a crap if he has the most majors, if he's got the most PGA Tour wins, if he's got any of that. I think he's living a higher purpose, which goes to a little bit of the mental standpoint. That is intimidating to these guys because they know they care so much. And it's funny, our unofficial researcher, track golfer here, he just brought up the fact that Tiger was 13-21-3 in Ryder Cup events. And Scotty's 2-2-3. So Scotty's got a ways to go. But Tiger, with that losing record, it goes to show you that even being clutch, in the Ryder Cup, that pressure cooker. So, I mean, there's kind of a knock a little bit on Tiger, even though most Ryder Cup events you're playing with a teammate.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And what's interesting is the debate really centers around how long he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And so the thing that I love most about Scotty's faith and how he communicates it to the world is that he went on a 5.5 minute monologue about what's the point. And I'll be honest, I was like, dude, like seriously, like time and place, like that's not really, like you're sitting at the Open. What's the point? Like, it's pretty obvious what his point is. Now, I think he was trying to, subtly say basically that guys, stop getting wrapped up in this golf thing because it's really not the point. But he ends it with, well, my faith in my family, and if this golf thing ever affects my family, I'm done. And it showed that he is a real person, and I think that is different than any other top player that's ever played, certainly in the last 20 years, and 100% since social media began to, really sort of kick into high gear. Because I mean, you hear these stories like you just said, right? Like Jordan called him out. He was like, "Man, this guy chirps more than anybody," and the reason why he chirps more than anybody is because he's hyper competitive. The same way that Tiger was hyper competitive. How they communicate it, two different things. And so, I think to your point, that's what makes it so difficult. But also at the same time, it's like if he stops after 5 years, does that necessarily mean that he wasn't the greatest ever for 7 years? I don't think so. I think the statistics. I mean, he's what? I think he's literally one or two in 90-something% of the categories. Um, that's that's ridiculous. That's unreal.
I
And he's
did
doing
see.
it so ugly with that ugly ass swing of his.
Well, and I did see a question that was posed that was, hey, is Scotty Scheffler good for the game of golf? Like, Tiger transcended the sport. And I think that's why it's so difficult to talk about this, to compare them. And it feels so odd to put Scotty Scheffler in that world of Tiger Woods because he's not a transcending guy. Like, he's
Well,
not.
he is just not like in a different way, though, right?
Yes,
He really just
but
doesn't care.
it's almost, is he
not
actually
growing.
good for, is he good for the PGA Tour? I guess I'll pose that way.
Absolutely not. I mean, I think honestly, and my dad said the same thing last night. Actually, like a half dozen people have said the exact same thing. Funny enough, in the last few weeks, was like, he's making the whole process look really stupid. And I think honestly, I go back to what I was saying earlier about the elevated events. I think half of these guys, you have Justin, Jordan, Ricky, all pre 2000 guys that, or 2020 guys that were, world beaters at one time or another, where post 2022 now, over the last 3 years, their careers have basically been kind of drug along by the decisions that they've been a part of. There is no Ricky Fowler this year if he doesn't get those exemptions in these elevated events. There is no Jordan Spieth or Justin Thomas necessarily in the way that they are now. They would be kind of closer to that 100 number, which would kind of be an issue. But so no, I don't think he's great for the game of golf. I mean, he even said it. He's like, I'm not out here to inspire anybody. I'm out here because I've been given the ability and been blessed to do so, and that's it. So what I think the PGA Tour needs to do is stop trying to recreate Tiger and stop trying to recreate that business model and move forward looking at how, well, first of all, and it's pretty much the end of my point is Scotty Scheffler came from the Korn Ferry Tour, and his dad himself said if it weren't for the Korn Ferry Tour, there would be no Scotty Scheffler. So let's just lay it to bed that the pathway to the PGA Tour works and actually build upon that rather than what they're doing, which is essentially gatekeeping. But that's a whole other conversation.
I've brought it up in years past. Like, it was probably a couple years ago when I talked about how I wish that golf had like the minor league system, kind of like baseball has, right? Basketball ended up introducing what's called as the G League, right? So that guys who are good enough, but maybe just haven't been refined, or they haven't found their game, so to speak, and they need more time in order to get to that level. I think golf has always not had that. It's always been the players that have family money that can stick around on the mini tours for a long period of time, or stick around, playing on the Corn Ferry Tour and just kind of getting by, or always going to Q school and having enough money to go do that. That's part of the equation. I mean, you're going through it now to where it's like, hey, got to go through that fundraising side of things. And it's a grind when you have to actually fundraise yourself rather than having a parent that hands over the money and then you go play. So that was always, to me, I'm like, man, I always felt like I missed my time because I didn't have enough time to develop. I was late to the game from and I was improving year after year after year after year. And I just was like, man, it got cut too short because of real life, to where it's like, hey, you got to pay bills. You got to move on at some point. And even the Corn Ferry Tour for golf, it's like, man, I really feel like that's a grind, to where, like, I still remember my buddy in college. Like, he went and played, and it was the Nationwide Tour at the time. I think he came out of, like, heavy in debt afterwards because of all the travel, the little pay. There obviously is no salary, so you got to make the cuts. Like, I would love to see that take on a little bit of a live model, to where, and they were kind of going down that path with the $500 stipend. They just did it wrong, right? It's like, man, if they actually paid these guys, and I'm not saying you have to pay guys $500,000, but if you pay them a salary to be out there, like, cover the travel, like, get a corporate plan going to where you cover all the travel, and you put these guys, everybody up in it doesn't have to be a high-end hotel, but you're putting them up.
Well, just
right?
cover it. Yeah, just cover it. Yeah.
Even put them into teams. Like, it's kind of the live golf model that I always felt like would work well. And we're seeing it with the Grass League right now, to where, like, yes, that whole thing could end up becoming a feeder into the PGA Tour at some point, where it's like, man, I wish that this had existed years back, and hopefully, like, we start to see some of that. But I know, like, guys aren't being paid salaries out there right now. Like, that's up to the team owners at some point once they get big enough. But you look at even, like, the Savannah Bananas in baseball, right? They had to go very much a social media route in order to get these guys. But these are all guys that wanted to play pro ball, that were in the minor league systems, and just never. Yeah, they're very good players, but, they just really didn't have an opportunity to continue on. And even at that level, like, when you look at baseball. So I could go down an absolute rabbit hole with that one, because I think golf structurally could be improved greatly. And to your point, I feel like they need to build up. And the tough thing with golf throughout the years and the PGA Tour's approach is they've gone after the hot commodity coming out of college or coming off of the Corn Ferry Tour, and they don't really bump the guys that have come off of the Corn Ferry Tour. It's more so the college stud that they're like, oh, he could be the next big thing on the PGA Tour. Yeah, so it'd be great to start to see some of that.
That's so well put. I think that really, puts a nice point on it too, right? And you just wonder, all of the money that was made from Tiger pre-COVID, right? All of the money that was made off the golf course. You could watch Nationwide on TV, by the way. You could watch web.com on TV. And it really, it kind of calls into question really what the motivation of the PGA Tour is, when you see post-COVID, when golf began to reach millions more people through YouTube, other social media, through just the fact that they couldn't stand to be inside anymore. They're working online and from home now, so they kind of have the want to get outside, and golf is a wonderful thing to do. And all the money that was made by these manufacturers, and yet every single manufacturer is taking money out of the game. And by the way, almost every single club manufacturer is no longer paying anywhere near what they used to pay. Actually, it's every single club manufacturer. Every clothing manufacturer has pretty much stopped paying. How old is Lefty? Hey, Trotty. Yes, he is. To put a pause, Dylan is 19 years old. This kid is going to be unbelievable, and we'll talk about that later. But the big thing is, honestly, the fact that all of the money from the sponsors of the players themselves, because none of the clothing manufacturers or club manufacturers are necessarily sponsoring the tour, is going away, which means more and more players need to go to corporate sponsors. But corporate sponsors look at, I mean, you and I have had this conversation, Butsy, all three of us have had this conversation a number of times. Where are you going to get your return on investment if you can't be seen on TV and you can't control your media rights or the content that you do? I can't go out and make my own YouTube unless the PGA Tour gives me an okay. And I'm not even in tournaments right now.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far off track. I know you're passionate about it. I'm passionate about it. But I do want to get back to Scotty Scheffler being the greatest of all time. And granted, we understand, folks. We're not saying that Scotty right now, if he stopped playing golf, is the greatest of all time. Scotty's got to continue this out, but he is right now the greatest player we have ever seen, in my opinion. And that, once again, that is so tough to say because I just love Tiger's game so much. And Scotty's, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but he is so gosh darn consistent. And here's the thing that I think separates him. Jack Nicklaus mentioned this at the Memorial. Scotty Scheffler's course strategy is the best that there ever has been. Period. Jack Nicklaus said that, and I have to fully agree with that, to where it's like, man, he does not play the shots that Tiger would have played. Tiger was risky out there. He just plays so dang solid all the time, and their course strategy is dialed. So again, I do believe that his consistency and course strategy are the two things, and he doesn't stray away from it. That's the other thing. A lot of guys in the moment will stray away to try to do something. Scotty Scheffler does not. Now, that being said, prime versus prime Tiger dominates Scotty. Interesting. So, if they were playing one-on-one, I think that's where the competitiveness and the clutchness comes in. Scotty's super competitive, and I don't think we get to see enough of that. But him versus Tiger, that would have been a pretty good one. And if it came down to a clutch moment, I'm going with Tiger on that for the clutch moment. But I think Scotty Scheffler threw out an entire 18 holes of stroke play. If it's not match play, I think Scotty Scheffler takes that right now against prime Tiger. And that would obviously be an interesting one that I'd love to see the simulations on. But let's get to where we're talking about strategy and Scotty's strategy being the best of all time. That leads into Ted Scott. And I saw this comment. Ted Scott, is he the greatest caddy of all time? Brent's saying no. However, he has two players, one with Bubba Watson, wins 2 majors. And now with Scotty, Scotty's got 4 majors at this point. So I'm sitting here going, okay, you did it with 2 players. And Bubba really, granted, Bubba dealt with some injuries and Ted left when the time was right, went on to Scotty's bag. But I got to think that there's something there that maybe, and I know the caddies are probably going to shit all over me for this one, but Ted Scott, there's something there with Ted.
Yeah, I think it's a shared faith. I mean, the fact is that course management is not a difficult thing to learn, and it's even better. The equation literally falls under emotional management. And can Scotty's emotions be pulled out of the equation? And the answer is yeah, absolutely, clearly. He is unbelievably consistent because he's consistent emotionally. And obviously he's an unbelievable golfer, but the fact is that you said it. He doesn't take chances, and he doesn't have to, because he just hits it to 15 to 25 feet every time, and sometimes he'll knock it stiff, sure, but it's just a constant barrage of fairway, green, fairway, green. And yeah, well,
So Brant
Yeah.
Hobby brings up Stevie and Fluff probably in that combo too. I have to fully agree with that. That would definitely be in my top caddies of all time if we're to create a list. And maybe that's something on a segment on a future show we're absolutely going to do. Trot also brings up that Ted Scott had learned a lot about patience with Bubba. So funny enough, I had on Scott Higgins, who was Scotty's caddy before being left at the altar with Ted Scott, and then he ended up going on to Mito Pereira's bag for that PGA Championship. That Mito, I told Scott he should have yanked that driver out of Mito's hands on the 18th hole of the PGA Championship, and he just didn't do it. So that being said, though, he said, and he finally admitted as we got into the show and he started loosening up a little bit, that Scotty Scheffler is a tough bag, that he was one of the hardest players to caddy for. So that goes to Trot's point around how caddying for Bubba Watson, we all know the outbursts Teddy used to take, just absolute, would be screamed at, told like that it was his fault so often. And then he gets on Scotty's bag, Scotty being a very tough bag, and he's made it look easy though with Scotty in a lot of ways, to where it's like, man, they just seem like they're gel, but you can see it out there when Scotty Scheffler gets like frustrated, like it's very apparent.
Yeah, I agree. I think what I would love to see, if it's possible, because obviously he's a tough bag. I mean, the guy doesn't do anything necessarily by the book, but I honestly believe that, and Ted's been on with William Kane and Webb Simpson and Ben Crane on the Bible Caddy podcast, and he talked about this last year. But it literally, it showed him so much patience, exactly what Trotty said, that he knows, Scotty knows that Ted has been there, done that. And I think Ted, now being a little older, certainly further on in his walk, is almost like a completely trustworthy older brother, and is one of those guys that he could take anybody and be like, no, just do this. Just do this. Trust me, do this. And Scotty does. Do I think that there are times where Scotty maybe gets a little bit too emotional and has a hard time reining it in a way? You saw it at the Scottish Open. He didn't necessarily have full form there, but it was also right before a major, and so on and so forth. And is he going to be as competitively locked in at the Scottish Open as he would be at the British? Obviously not. And so then there you go. They have this. Scotty has this revelation in front of the media, in front of the golf world, and goes out there and is clearly like super calm throughout the bad weather, terrible weather in some cases, not the easiest golf course, and goes out there and just absolutely kills it. So that I've been saying that for a while, that if it weren't for Ted, I don't think we'd see anywhere near the level of dominance. But what's interesting is would Tiger need a caddy necessarily to dominate out there? I don't.
Well, he had some good ones. I mean, he had Fluff on the bag. Yeah. He had Stevie Williams on the bag. Stevie, I mean, I was listening to a podcast with Stevie to where he was sharing about how he wouldn't give Tiger the correct yardages because he knew that he was pumped up. And so he'd give him different yardages because he knew what Tiger was going to hit. And I mean, granted, he got called out a little bit for people thought that he was lying about it and so forth, but I know for a fact that happens with caddies out there, that like sometimes like even when Bobby Brown on, he was caddying for Dustin Johnson, he's like, there were times where I gave him the wrong club altogether and he just played to feel to hit that shot into there, even though it was the wrong club. So like there's those type of things, but you never heard anybody mention that Tiger was a tough bag. So
no.
That was like, when you think about how much talent Tiger had and what it must have been like to be on his bag, Nobody has said that he's a tough bag.
No, and so the guy that's on his bag right now, caddied
Lance
for,
Bennett.
yeah, Lance, caddied for Sung J M, and I got to talk to him and through another gentleman, who's well while Pepsi was on my bag, he went to work for Tiger, and they know each other obviously, and Pepsi was just like, he's like, no, they just show up and it's super regimented. Everything's obviously the way it needs to be, but there is no. I totally, 100% agree. Although that yeah, that would be interesting. They might get into a lifting battle before each round, so who knows how he would play. But yeah, I think honestly, to your point, never ever once heard that Tiger was a difficult guy to be around in general on the golf course.
You just had to keep some
So
secrets. That's it. Like that was the thing. You had to
yeah,
be faithful to Tiger. Like you couldn't go caddy for somebody else.
finally.
We saw that happen for a couple times where Stevie all of a sudden jumped on Adam Scott's bag, and it's like, okay, see you, Stevie. Then all of a sudden it was Joe LaCava with Patrick Cantlay, see you, Joe, and now Lance Bennett, and so it's kind of crazy. But by far, and I'll state this as we kind of wrap up the greatest of all time conversation here between Tiger and Scotty. Tiger Woods by far had more talent. Like that is not in question. Like, in my opinion,
100%.
clutchness, talent goes to Tiger all day long, which is why this is kind of a frustrating thing to talk about, where it's like, man, Scotty Scheffler is
It's early on
possibly
though.
the absolute best right now of that we'll ever see, but maybe not. I mean, we were saying that about Tiger, and now all of a sudden we got Scotty Scheffler. I think we need to appreciate what Scotty's doing, even though it's not the prettiest thing in the world, that it's not the most clutch thing in the world, that yes, it is a little bit boring at times, but
Yes.
you have to appreciate the consistency, the feel and touch around the greens, and the fact that he is doing it at such a great consistent level. You brought up the point that his stats, he's number one in so many different categories. Tiger was
It's a
never that.
joke. No.
So it is pretty cool to see all of that. Now we're going to do a little bit of rapid fire here, where all the majors at this point are completed. It's a very depressing time of the year for most golf fans that love all the majors. We got the FedEx Cup coming up. I got to always remind myself, FedEx Cup's coming. Gonna have the playoffs. Each year it gets a little bit, I get a little bit more into it, I'll say, where like prior, I really didn't give a shit about the FedEx Cup, especially when starting this podcast. But we also have the Ryder Cup coming up. So that's going to be the big one to look forward to now. But all the majors are completed. Which major this year was your favorite, Brent?
I think the U.S. Open was my favorite for sure, without a doubt. The sheer just magnitude of Oakmont, the fact that there was a wee bit of controversy that kind of showed that the USGA is off in a way. We'll keep that for another time. And then the fact that it was won by a guy that came out of absolutely nowhere, and it was won by a guy that's been a true journeyman for a decade.
For me, it was the Masters with Rory. I think it
Oh,
was the
come on.
most emotional thing, and it was a roller coaster, man. That's the
was.
craziest thing. Like, it was an absolute up and down, left and right. You got shook throughout that, and to me,
Yeah.
that's a hell of a storyline with it being the final major of the Grand Slam. You know, it was the one that Rory wanted the absolute most out of any golf tournament, and he finally gets it done, but in a way that was just so ridiculous.
Not
like when you
clutch.
think about that, it's like, dude, he choked multiple times, but that grittiness to just keep like gutting it out and not
yeah.
going away. Like there were 3-4 times in the first round and the final round that it's like, oh, he's done. Like
100%.
he's gonna absolutely just collapse right now, and he never did. Like that is mental fortitude right there. So to me, my favorite major was the Masters with Rory. Who had the best major win out of the four?
Yeah, you can't can't take it away from Rory and the Masters. As big as it was, obviously for JJ, and we all know JJ is unbelievable. Obviously, Scotty's. This is what's kind of ridiculous, right? And this is why your point earlier about him, whether he's good for the PGA Tour or not. The fact that we don't even look at his two wins, the PGA and the Open, because they were just sort of foregone conclusions. Certainly by the end of Saturday, but regardless of kind of the playing around that the media did with the Masters, certainly Jim Nance on Sunday. But the simple fact of the matter is that Rory literally went over a decade, well over a decade, after losing the Masters. That I think it was like second or third time he lost it on Sunday, and then finally did it after all that time is pretty incredible.
See, me and you flip flopped here because I went JJ Spawn with the U.S. Open. I thought that was the best major championship victory. Playing Oakmont, just an absolute beast. And then with the weather conditions that came in,
True.
and he led after the first day. So it's like, and he's not a big name guy.
No.
Like, he's always kind of hung around in a lot of tournaments, but he's never really broken through. And to me, that was the best major win. Now, the next one, and actually, let's get to, before we move on with this kind of rapid fire around all the majors being completed, Patrick brings up a good point. Oh, I brought up Brent Hobby first. So, yeah, Rory's Grand Slam, that final round was pretty epic. Now, with Patrick, the major schedule now sucks. Wish the PGA was still in August. Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Not yeah. I mean the whole. Yeah. It was just it was created to give you four majors in 4 months, I think, or 5 months, whatever it ended up being. So yeah, I mean it's just.
And then hopefully we're both human because we both had JJ as one of our answers there. So Truck Golfer said, if you don't say JJ, are you even human? It's a really
Fair.
good point,
That's
Truck.
fair.
Really good point there. Now, as we get further into this discussion, whose win was the most dominant out of the four majors?
I was Scotty. So Scotty at the Open just now. I mean, the PGA was a little rough for him, I think, starting out, and he kind of had to grind through a bit first couple 3 rounds, and obviously by the end of Saturday, we kind of all knew it was over. But for Scotty, like the whole time was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna trend and trend and trend, and then plateau, and you guys aren't gonna catch me. I mean, to go bogey free on Saturday. I think he had one. I don't even know if he had a bogey on Sunday. But
He did.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
but a phenomenal, because it was bad weather, because it was the Open, not a tournament that he's played well in the past, by the way, and for him to go over there and just slap the living daylights out of everybody, it was just makes it a little bit different.
So mine, it should have been Rory, first of all, because he should have won the Masters by 5 or 6 shots.
Should
When you
have.
think about like the mini collapses throughout the week, it's just like,
Oh, yeah.
holy
Come
crap.
on.
Could have won this thing by 10.
On the
He could have been
18th hole.
Scotty Scheffler and 4-putted the 18th.
Yeah.
Like, it should have been that way. Rory played the absolute best out of anybody that week in spurts, right? But then there were those horrible choking moments throughout. So I have to give it up to Scotty Scheffler, and I put it as the PGA Championship, winning by 5 strokes there.
Yeah.
When everybody collapsed coming down the stretch, which Quail Hollow, that back 9, it gets pretty tough. And so
certainly does.
for Scotty just to play as consistent as he did coming down that final 9 holes, that to me was the most dominant victory. Last question on this. Are you surprised a live golfer didn't win a major this year?
No, not at all. We saw what happened to Bryson last year at Pinehurst. We all know that the many fairways that he missed that he got unbelievably lucky in the fescue. And anybody that's ever been around that golf course or played the U.S. Open there knows that it's basically a crapshoot. So the fact is that every single golf course this year was a true test of different parts of the game, and I'm not surprised that they didn't win a single one.
Yeah, to me, the answer is
Bryson's their
no.
only
I am
shot.
I
Yeah.
am not surprised because realistically, in my mind, they have three guys right now that can win a major. They've got Bryson, they've got Terrell Hatton, and they've got John Rahm. Those are the three guys where Terrell Hatton was close in two majors.
Yeah.
You
Played
had
great.
Bryson, who is still an option, and then John Rahm could have won the PGA Championship if he didn't collapse, right? He was right there, made that huge run, got to even with Scotty Scheffler. But those three are the only three. And when you put three guys up against however many guys there are
30.
in the field, it's like, yeah, that's going to be tough for Live Golf. And by the way, it does hurt their brand. Like, I don't care what anybody says, it hurts their brand because they want to be known as the best golfers in the world. You can't take over a PGA Tour like as the main golf circuit if you don't have multiple victories every single year.
Correct. Yeah, I mean
So-
it's a numbers game. Bottom line
It
is the best players are competing against the best players more often, I mean nobody's going to beat Scotty anyways. But thankfully, I mean I love Tiro. He's fantastic. Obviously, John's an unbelievable player. Just happy to see him find some form. But everybody else, yeah, guys. I mean it's just going to go downhill. So.
All right, let's spend 1 minute talking about Dylan Brack. Go ahead and fill me into this kid.
Yeah. So, but nothing super crazy. He won pre-qual at 17 years old. Was one shot away from getting a full Latin card at 18. Has several high-level amateur, junior/amateur events under his belt. But long story short, he hits it as far as I do. Hits a 4-yard cut from the right side of the golf ball, not the correct side, but the right side. In other words, he's left-handed. And at 19 years old, he has more support behind him than I think I've ever seen. But he's also unbelievably mature. And for some reason, colleges just haven't noticed him for whatever reason. But he's going to be one of those guys that kind of does it his own way. So he's out of Riverside area, so Goose Creek. We're going to get him to join Bear Creek probably within the next month. Yeah, he's.
Wow, you sound like his manager over here.
Well, I'm working with him, but yeah, he's special, and I don't think I've ever seen. We played together in the Monday qualifier in Colorado, and it's literally just about a matter of time with him, rather than having all of these different parts of his game. There's guys like Michael Block's son, Dylan Block, that is a great player, but doesn't necessarily have the IT, the it, and that doesn't have anything to do with what you're doing on the golf course. It's about your emotional management. So he's got it, and we'll see how far he can go.
That's awesome. And really, last thing here, Brent Hobby wants to know, Bryson's contract ends this year or next. Does he come back? Do the Saudis throw 500 mil to retain him? So here's the scoop. So number one, I came out with all of this information months back. The one thing that I would say that I did not have full clarity on is when his contract ends. And ever since then, I have heard from several people that it ends at the middle of the season next year. So that's where it's still dead on in terms of, does he come back to the PGA Tour next year? He was having conversations with PGA Tour officials. So there should tell you that he is looking at it as an option to come back. And here's the thing, if the Saudis don't pay him, which he even brought up, like, the more and more that when I put that out there and it went viral on Twitter X, all of a sudden, the more we've gotten away from that, all of a sudden Bryson has started opening up a little bit more around, yeah, I'm gonna have more talks with them in regards to the contract, and I know my worth and blah blah blah, and he's saying all the right things politically, so to speak, with them, not to get too far like into it with them, to be like, hey, you need to pay me or else I'm gone. But that's kind of the conversation where he did ask for a lot of money back in, I forget the exact timing now. I haven't really thought about this in a
few months
while.
ago.
But it was like in January, February to when he met with them, and they turned down his extension. He wanted in the range of, gosh, I don't even remember the number at this point because I'm so I've distanced myself from all of that information, even though having conversations with multiple people in regards to the contract, because that one still interests me as to when it comes due. And that's the thing. He says that, even Bryson said it ends in 2026. So nobody is stating when in 2026 because there's guys that contracts have ended in the middle of the year. So to me, everything with Bryson points towards what would be better for his brand, to stay on Live or to be on the PGA Tour. And I do believe that, yes, he is very invested in Live as long as they pay him a lot of money to stay.
It doesn't have anything to do with anything other than the money. I think what's going to be interesting to see what happens in general for a lot of these guys. If they do want to come back, does it look like they, have to create their own, their own special category to, earn X number of points, or what this all looks like? And I just want to add one thing as far as where the PGA Tour is at. Jay Monahan did not step down as the commissioner. He just stepped down as the CEO of the for-profit business. So there is nothing that's changing as far as the regulations are concerned as of yet, and I haven't heard or seen anything to think that there's going to be this crazy deal where they offer these guys their cards back or they lift their suspensions. So.
Well, and you got to remember the equity side, right? The PGA Tour started giving out equity to players, so that would possibly be something that Bryson would want in coming back to the PGA Tour. And is that something they'd be willing to do in order to just bring back one player? And that's where this whole thing will get really, really interesting as we move forward, because I'm telling you, I don't want to go down that path again because of how many people just like shit all over the information. So
it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Well, you're going to see that it's all factual. Like, and I shouldn't say factual because there's always that chance that
it's relevant.
Something's going to happen. But it is everything that I heard from trusted sources that gave me all of that information. And I still believe that Bryson absolutely looked at a pathway back. Brooks Koepka's coming back to the PGA Tour. Like, this is going to be a very telling year as we move into 2026.
Agreed.
Because guys like Koepka are going to want to come back. He's stated it so many times, and that's what's hilarious is that he's had to defend himself, and it's more so to the media at live events that he's had to sit there and be like, I haven't said anything to you guys, the media. But Freddie Couples said something. He was talking about it at the TGL event that he was at to a lot of people. So obviously he just doesn't want the media to be asking him those questions while he's still technically under contract with the Saudis. So a lot of stuff can happen there. But I just find it very...
Drama.
There's going to be a lot of drama in 2026 around all of this. And I think we'll get a lot more clarity. And I don't think anything is set in stone, but I do see that as long as there's pathways for these guys to come back and get some equity to come back to the PGA Tour. Now, will the PGA Tour players allow this to take place? That's the other side to all this.
I think honestly, after everything that Scotty's done, I think they're going to be like, yeah, guys, come on back. the more the better, right? Yeah, just the better players. And it's like, please, somebody come and beat this guy because we have no idea what we're doing. So,
And I love the fact that like 10 minutes ago, we could still see you clearly, Brent, and now it's like you're in the Blair Witch Project. Absolutely
yeah,
phenomenal
perfect.
stuff. Yeah, it literally looks like the Blair Witch Project. You're about to disappear.
That's
So
great.
stay safe over there. As we wrap up this show, folks, make sure to utilize our sponsors that we've put together for all of you as our audience members. First of all, Devro Golf that I'm decked out in. Brent has the t-shirt on. The head covers, by the way, head covers are absolutely solid. Utilize the promo code PullHookGolf20 for 20% off at Devro Golf. Vice Golf, use the promo code PullHook for 15% off. Rock Form with this is my favorite thing, 24-hour battery life too, and it attaches to anything magnetic or any metal. Absolutely love it. I stick it all over the place. But Pull Hook 2025 for 20% off there. And once again, a quick shout out to Jones Golf, which, oh, I can't even reach it. There's 2 head covers on each side. You'll see it in the full podcast video. Brent, I don't think you can see it right now. Actually, hang on a second. Let me see if I can
can't.
just
It's close. They're kind
hang
of
on.
close.
We're gonna get there. Here we go. So these little on each side here. Whoop, there we are. They sent me these head
Oh, I see
covers
them.
with the
Yep,
bag.
there we go.
They're
Oh
like
my
the
gosh.
cream vintage style
Those are awesome.
head covers. I absolutely love those. So now I'm like in a debate between which head covers are going to be on my bag moving forward. But I do want to give a shout out to Jones Golf as they're helping me out with the 5 a.m. comeback. And then, lastly, Stark Health, folks. If you're trying to have a transformation, you're sick and tired of not knowing what's going on in your body, you may have a job to where you're sitting all day, got out of shape, want to go through a full transformation, you're a successful individual in business or whatever, utilize Stark Health. It's stark.health is the website. And hit me up on Instagram if you have any questions in regards to it. I know there's been quite a few that have reached out and been like, man, that place seems legit. And I will go into detail and break it all down for you because what you won't hear right now that I will share through this docu-series that's being built around this whole 5 a.m. comeback is that it literally has saved my life. And I will get into all of those details through that docu-series. I won't get into it on the pod. Won't because there's just too much to get into. But I was sharing some of it with Trot while I was out there today getting a golf lesson. Shout out to him, Palm Brook, and I love to call it the Palm Brook Country Club because it used to be an old school country club in Sun City, Arizona, and that place is minty. I absolutely love it. The course conditions are going to be phenomenal. Trot was taking me through what they're going to do heading into the season, which really starts in the fall. Sorry, I think that is a sign to wrap it up. So, without further ado, folks, peace out. A-Town down. I'm gonna hopefully grab my breath, but thank you, everybody.